Liz Golyar made a frantic 911 call as she struggled to stay conscious lying on the cold ground of a walking trail in Big Lake Park in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Liz had been taking an evening walk when a woman appeared out of nowhere and shot her in the leg before running off into the woods. Liz was rushed to the hospital as police helicopters scanned the park, trying to locate the assailant, but there was no evidence that another person was in the area that night. Liz Golyar had a difficult childhood, losing both her parents as a young child and spending time in the foster system for a few years before being adopted. After she graduated high school, she moved to Omaha, Nebraska, and started her own housekeeping business. Liz had 2 children but never got married. In 2011, she decided to try online dating. That's when she came across Dave Kroupa's profile. Dave had just come out of a 12-year relationship with Amy Flora, the mother of his 2 children. Despite never getting married, Dave and Amy had built a comfortable home together until they decided to amicably split. Amy moved back to her hometown of Council Bluffs, Iowa, and Dave followed to be close to his kids. Dave set up his new life by getting a job at a mechanic and creating an online dating profile. The first person who reached out to him was Liz Golyar. Dave and Liz hit it off. They had a lot in common. They had both recently ended long-term relationships, their kids were similar ages, and they both wanted to keep things casual. They saw each other regularly, going out to bars and restaurants and hanging out at each other's houses. Their fling fizzled out after a few months. After all, they had both agreed they didn't want anything serious. Dave continued to connect with women through online dating. In October 2012, an attractive woman entered Dave's auto repair shop. Cari Farver grew up in Iowa and was very popular in her community. She was vivacious and always had a smile on her face. Her former classmates and colleagues would describe her as highly intelligent with an exceptional talent for numbers. She had recently started a new job as a computer programmer at a large firm in Omaha. She was a devoted single mother to 14-year-old Max and was also very close with her mother, Nancy Rainey. There was an immediate spark between Dave and Cari. He was struck by her beauty and confidence and asked her out on a date. Cari agreed, but was upfront about how she was not looking for a serious relationship. Their first date went well and they began seeing more of each other over the next 2 weeks. Cari also started staying the night at Dave's apartment as it was conveniently close to her workplace. One night in November, Liz Golyar dropped by Dave's apartment to pick up some of her belongings. Cari stayed out of the way so things wouldn't be awkward, but Liz was clearly upset that another woman was with Dave. Liz and Cari had a very brief encounter, but Liz claimed that Cari called her a bitch as she walked past. After that run-in, Cari's usual laid-back demeanor transformed. The next morning, Dave kissed Cari goodbye and went off to work. He was going about his day as usual when he received a text from Cari that said, "Should we move in together?" Dave was caught off guard by the proposition, as their agreement was clear. This was a no-strings-attached casual relationship. He texted back, "Probably not." Within seconds, Dave's phone exploded with a flurry of hostile messages. Cari said she was done with Dave and told him to go away. Although Dave was bewildered with the sudden change in Cari, their relationship was short and he hadn't got that invested, so he tried to just forget about her. But his phone kept blowing up throughout the day as aggressive text messages from Cari flooded in. That day, she sent over 1,000 messages. The non-stop messages were filled with profanity and name-calling targeted at not only Dave, but also his ex, Liz Golyar. It seemed that the encounter the 2 women had the previous evening triggered extreme rage and jealousy in Cari. Over the next few days, the unhinged text messages and emails kept coming in. Then, Cari started sending photos of the front of Dave's house. That's when he considered involving the police. But to Dave's surprise, the police paid him a visit at his workplace regarding a missing persons report filed by Cari's mother, Nancy Rainey. The authorities deemed Dave as the last person to have seen Cari before her disappearance. Confused, Dave presented the thousands of messages that Cari had bombarded him with over the last few days. The police explained that Cari informed her mother via text message that she intended to start a new job and new life in Kansas and would be leaving her son behind. Cari's employer received a similar abrupt resignation via text message too. Nancy was extremely alarmed at this uncharacteristic behavior. Cari was a devoted mother who always put her son first. There was no way she'd ever abandon him like this. Nancy Rainey revealed to the police that Cari had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had suffered from depressive episodes in the past, where she would not be contactable for days. It was possible she had gone off her medication, plunging into a spiral of erratic behavior, including sending the texts to Dave. Cari's disappearance was concerning, but she was a grown woman and appeared to still be communicating, so the matter was not considered to be urgent. A few days later, Nancy received a text from her daughter informing her that she had sold all her furniture and someone would be coming by her house to pick it all up. Attached was a photo of a check signed by Shanna Elizabeth Golyar, which was the full name of Liz Golyar, the woman Cari apparently despised. The police quickly made their way to Liz's house to ask her about the check. Liz vehemently denied writing the check. In fact, she was relieved that the police had showed up because she was worried about her children's safety. Liz showed police her phone and the thousands of hateful texts and emails she had been receiving from Cari Farver. Cari had also been sending photos of Liz's children taken through the window outside her home. For several weeks now, Cari had been relentlessly stalking and harassing both Dave and Liz, even after Dave had changed his phone number. The shared trauma and common enemy inadvertently brought Dave and Liz closer, and they soon got back together romantically. There were times when Dave and Liz would be sitting on the couch watching TV together, when both their phones would suddenly blow up with abusive messages from Cari. At one point, Cari emailed both Dave and Liz a link to a fake obituary she had written for Liz, branding her as a man-stealer and celebrating her death. Dave and Liz both saved Cari's number in their phones as Crazy Cari. While Cari's disappearance was being treated as a missing persons case in Iowa, in Omaha, Nebraska, the authorities were on the hunt for a stalker. Cari's digital presence was examined first. Her Facebook page had been recently deleted, and an almost identical new one had popped up. There were also multiple newly created online dating profiles across multiple websites under Cari's name. One of the first posts on a new Facebook profile was a photo of a hand wearing an engagement ring, with the caption announcing Cari's engagement to Dave Kroupa. Dave, of course, denied this, and Nancy Rainey also insisted that that was not her daughter's hand in the photo. In January 2013, a breakthrough occurred. Dave Kroupa came home one day and saw Cari Farver's car in the apartment parking lot. He was positive it was Cari's car, as he had serviced it when they first met, so he immediately alerted the police. The vehicle was promptly impounded for forensic analysis. The car was suspiciously clean, suggesting it had been recently scrubbed down. Only one fingerprint was discovered on a pack of gum left behind, but there were no matches in the FBI database. The fingerprint didn't even match Cari. About 5 months after Cari was last seen, police searched her home. The place was virtually untouched. Cari's clothes were all still hung in the closets, and her medications and other important possessions had all been left behind. No one knew where Cari was, but she continued to contact people in her life. In May 2013, Cari's new Facebook account reached out to her son Max. "Hey little man, how are you?" Max, grappling with the reality that his mother most likely ran into foul play, was spooked by the message. He responded strategically with 3 questions. What's my middle name? What's the name of our first family boxer dog? Who was my best friend growing up? He never got a response to his questions. On Mother's Day, Nancy Rainey received a text from Cari. "Happy Mother Day, Mom. How has Max been?" Nancy suspected someone was impersonating her missing daughter for several reasons. Cari was highly intelligent and was usually meticulous when it came to spelling and grammar, but her messages since her disappearance were full of mistakes. Cari also preferred to speak on the phone rather than text. Nancy would ask the imposter to call her so she could verify the voice, but she would just receive angry texts back. Over the last few months, Cari had also missed her half-brother's wedding and her own father's funeral. While Cari's whereabouts was still a mystery, her digital harassment of Dave and Liz persisted. Liz was terrified. She had lodged multiple police reports alleging stalking, vandalism of her home and car, and burglary by Cari Farver. By early August 2013, Dave and Liz were spending less time together and officially broke up. Dave continued to meet and chat with women through online dating, but soon found out that Cari was infiltrating his attempts at forming new relationships. Women he had chatted with online had been receiving threatening messages from Cari, warning them to stay away. A couple of weeks later, things escalated. Cari had sent a particularly aggressive email to Dave, claiming that she had burned Liz's house down and even hoped that it would take the lives of Liz and her kids. Moments after reading the chilling email, Dave received a frantic phone call from Liz. Cari had followed through. Dave raced over to Liz's house, or the charred ruins of a house. Fire trucks surrounded the scene. Liz was distraught. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt, and her children weren't home. But all of her pets, including a snake, dog, and 2 cats, had died from smoke inhalation. Accelerants were detected around the house, clear evidence of arson. After the fire, Dave and Liz found comfort in each other amidst the chaos and got back together again. As their relationship strengthened, Cari's harassment seemed to dissipate. November 2015, Cari Farver had now been missing for almost 3 years. The absence of the vibrant and loving Cari left a huge void in the hearts of her friends and family, which was felt most heavily during major life milestones that she missed. Her son Max excelled in school and was part of the football team and band. Cari missed all of his birthdays and his high school graduation, even though she expressed immense pride and excitement about her son's achievements. Dave and Liz had still been seeing each other on and off. Cari's harassing messages would flare up every now and again. It seemed like for the most part, she had cut contact with everyone from her old life. By now, Cari's friends and family had seen the messages filled with expletives and spelling mistakes that had been sent to Dave and Liz over the years, and were adamant that Cari never texted like that. By December, Dave had once again called it quits with Liz. That's when the case took a turn. In early December 2015, Liz Golyar visited the police station to file a new harassment complaint. But it wasn't against Cari, but rather a woman named Amy Flora, Dave's ex-partner and mother of his children. According to Liz, she had received a barrage of threatening messages from Amy that bore a striking resemblance to the tone, language, and repetitive style of Cari's messages. Around this time, Dave had noticed his firearm was missing from his home, which he told Liz about as a precaution. In the police interview recording, Liz voiced her belief that Amy Flora had been impersonating Cari. Amy and Dave were together for over a decade. While Dave only dated Cari for 2 weeks, it made much more sense that Amy would be jealous of his new girlfriends. Liz also told police about Dave's missing gun and suggested that Amy may have stolen it. If it was Amy who had been the one sending the tens of thousands of threatening and abusive messages over the years, was she also the one behind Liz's house fire and Cari's disappearance? The day after Liz reported Amy Flora to the police, she was attacked and shot in the leg while taking an evening stroll in Big Lake Park. Investigators combed the crime scene, and Liz was rushed to the hospital, losing a lot of blood. Not a single piece of evidence was found that could lead police to a suspect. The doctors who operated on Liz had conflicting opinions on her injuries, and it could not be ascertained what the entrance and exit wounds were. When Liz was finally in a stable condition, police questioned her. According to Liz, a stranger, a woman, came out of nowhere, pointing a gun to her back. She was told to get on the ground when the shooter said, "How do you like f***ing Dave?" then shot her in the thigh and ran off. Liz was convinced the shooter was Amy Flora. With this serious allegation, police descended upon Amy's home. She was totally shocked when detectives asked her about the shooting. She stated that she was at home with her children at the time of the shooting, and a neighbor corroborated this alibi. Detectives believed Amy, and the investigation shifted focus back to Cari. New detectives had been assigned to the case in early 2015 and brought with them a fresh perspective. They went back to analyzing Cari's digital footprints and stumbled upon a strange YouTube video that had been posted under the username Cari Farver. The video had been captured on a phone camera and depicted an unknown individual rummaging through Dave Kroupa's apartment. Investigators were able to trace the uploader's IP address. It traced back to none other than Liz Golyar's home in Council Bluffs, Iowa. The realization set in. Liz had been the one behind the years of torment all along. She was the one who sent the abusive messages to Dave, then to herself, pretending to be Cari Farver. She had created dozens of email accounts and used apps to hide her IP addresses, as well as schedule the delivery of texts and emails so they could be sent to herself while she was with Dave. The mounting evidence against Liz led detectives to believe that Cari Farver had most likely been killed, but they needed to be certain. A plan was put in place to obtain a confession out of Liz. She was invited to the police station and was told that Cari's remains had been found. Liz immediately pointed the finger at Amy Flora, so police asked her to help them out by trying to get Amy to reveal any information about the murder. In reality, no human remains had been discovered, but police knew that Liz would try and frame Amy. Liz fell right into the trap. Hours later, she presented the police with a series of long-winded emails, supposedly from Amy Flora. They were riddled with spelling mistakes and confessed to Cari's murder, the shooting of Liz, and the arson of Liz's home. The emails contained gruesome details about how Cari was lured into her own car and stabbed to death, wrapped in a tarp, burned, and dumped in a rubbish bin. The email even described a yin and yang tattoo on Cari's left hip, a detail only known to a few people close to her and confirmed by her ex-husband who had the same tattoo. Cari's car was searched again. This time, investigators knew what they were looking for. The seat covers were stripped off and a large reddish-brown stain was found on the passenger seat. DNA testing confirmed it was Cari's blood. The fingerprint that was found in 2013 was tested against Liz's, who had an old police record back in Michigan. It was a match. There was just one more thing required to solidify the murder charge against Liz Golyar: a body. In January 2016, police sat Dave Kroupa down and revealed what they believed was going on. Liz Golyar, the woman he had been involved with on and off for over 3 years, she was the mastermind behind all the messages. She had burned down her own home and killed her pets. She shot herself in the leg and murdered Cari Farver. Police had been monitoring Liz closely and knew she was now stalking Amy Flora. Police told Dave that Amy and their children were in danger and suggested he move in with Amy temporarily. Somehow, Liz found out. She rang the police station, tearfully demanding to know why Amy was still free when she had confessed to murder. Police asked her back for questioning, but this time did not pretend to believe her claims. Liz was confronted with the hard evidence against her, but she angrily denied writing any of the emails and denied ever being near Cari's car. A search warrant was obtained for her apartment and electronic devices. Her 45 email accounts contained an archive of thousands of emails that had been sent posing as Cari or Amy. Stashed among Liz's belongings were also 2 of Cari's digital cameras. Although all the evidence collected so far was largely circumstantial, the detectives believed they had enough to make an arrest. On the 22nd of December 2016, Shana Liz Golyar was arrested. As Liz awaited trial, her defense team were feeling confident because of the lack of a body, murder weapon, or eyewitnesses. In February 2017, detectives made one last-ditch attempt at finding incriminating evidence and visited Dave Kroupa to see if he had any other electronic devices that might be helpful. Dave remembered he had an old tablet that hadn't been used for years and handed it over. Digital forensic analysts discovered a micro SD card in the tablet that would be a crucial breakthrough. It was deduced that the SD card was previously used in one of Liz's mobile phones and had been manually wiped clean. However, the team were able to recover 13,000 deleted photos. 458 of these photos were selfies of Liz and other snapshots from her day-to-day life. Then, investigators came across some chilling images of what appeared to be a blue or grey tarp taken from various angles. One photo depicted a dismembered leg with what looked like a yin and yang tattoo. It was very similar to Cari's ex-husband's matching tattoo. Another photo depicted a decomposing foot with a tattoo of the Chinese character for mother. Nancy Rainey provided a photo of her daughter's foot tattoo. It aligned perfectly with the one on the SD card. The tattoo was also a poignant reminder of how much the role of being a mother meant to Cari Farver, as well as how close she was to her own mother. These photos were trophies taken by Cari's killer, and the closest thing the prosecution had to a body. Sadly, Cari Farver's physical body was never found, but there was finally enough evidence to prove that Liz Golyar had brutally murdered Cari Farver before impersonating her for over 3 years and tormenting her loved ones. Liz had a sick obsession with Dave Kroupa and wanted to eliminate anyone who got in the way of her being with him. Dave later realized that during the times he hadn't seen Liz as often, the digital assaults would flare up, which gave Liz an excuse to reach out to Dave. In May 2017, Liz waived her right to a jury trial. Her fate would rest in the hands of a single judge in the Supreme Court of Nebraska, Judge Timothy Burns. Despite the defense's argument that the lack of a physical body, murder weapon, or eyewitnesses meant that the evidence was insufficient, Judge Burns found Liz Golyar guilty of arson and first-degree murder. In Nebraska, the punishment is automatically life sentence without the chance of parole. Through the legal proceedings, Liz adamantly maintained her innocence, and from prison wrote letters to crime author Leslie Rule in an attempt to tell her story. For Cari's mother Nancy and her son Max, the result was bittersweet. They felt relief and validation that Cari had been remembered for who she really was, but they mourned the loss of a vibrant and intelligent woman whose life was cut short and tainted by Liz Golyar's twisted depiction of her.